going on, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here. Welcome back to Groovy Thursdays. This is a classic one this week. Does it get any more classic than this? I'm not sure. The Ocean from Led Zeppelin, the record Houses of the Holy, and the great drumming of John Bonham. Let's do it. This week's groove, groove number 35, compared to last week's groove, number 34, are like opposite ends of the spectrum. Drunk Ship of Lanterns was last week, and super energetic, fast, hard to play. You have to play as hard as you can for a long period of time. It's like a workout. This week's groove, it's got a little odd time in it, but it's super simple, and it's all about the vibe and the feel, and the backbeat's got to be so solid and just loose, but in time, it's that quintessential John Bonham drumming where it's just, you know, we can try to play it like John Bonham, but it's never going to be like John Bonham. There's only one of John. There's only one of me, one of you, but it's a good study, and it's always good to try. And, you know, it's really not that hard. This is a really simple groove. The groove clocks in right at about 86 BPM, give or take a click. And there's two ways of counting this groove because of what's happening at the end of the phrase. You could feel the backbeats, which are the snare drum hits, on your typical 2 and 4, or you could feel this groove as a halftime groove and count it that way in eighth notes. I prefer counting it in the 2 and 4 way, and I'll show you that right now, but I'll also count it the other way for you too, so you can feel both kinds. So if we're going to count this phrase out with the 2 and 4 backbeats, there's a bar of 4, then a bar of 2, and a bar of 3/8 at the end. So that would mean counting it out like this. I'll clap the pulse and sing the bars real quickly here for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, like that. But you can count it out in the sort of halftime feel if you want, where it's all eighth notes. That would mean your pulse is like this in eighth notes, and you would count it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If counting out the eighth notes is easier for you to feel this groove, of course it's no big deal. Do it that way. But at a slow tempo like this, 86 is sort of at the slower end of mid-tempo. It's a little bit back. I like to rely on the quarter notes, not the eighth notes, in playing grooves like this, because it works on your pocket. You know, John Bonham's drumming his pocket was so deep, no matter what groove he was playing, right? It was just always there. And I don't think they ever played the click tracks in the studio. I could be wrong, but I don't think they ever did. His time was great, didn't waver much at all, and his pocket was just, the grooves were always so, those backbeats just make you want to sit back and go, oh. At least they do for me. So relying on the quarter notes helps you feel those slower backbeats when you kind of internalize that, not relying on a faster click or a faster pulse to feel a groove. With all that said, whichever pulse you want to listen to when you're playing a groove or you're practicing in your sessions, whether it's the eighth notes or 16ths or quarter notes or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Do what you need to do to get through something and to feel the groove correctly. There's been many times in the recording studio where I've had to speed up a click track to feel a certain section. You know, there's no rules here. I just think it's really good to practice not relying on the faster pulses when you're in your practice sessions, because it makes sure you're grooving a little more solid and a little more just in the pocket. All right, I apologize. I'm talking way too much here. Let's get into this groove. That's what we came here for, right? We have a 3-bar phrase. We're going to start with the hi-hat hand. All eighth notes in your hi-hat, and none of the eighth notes are open in this 3-bar phrase. The hi-hats are loose a little bit. They're not real tight. They're a little bit loose to give you that kind of wash, a little bit of gush in the sound of the hi-hat. But again, all eighth notes all the way through. Now on to the snare part. Let's first talk about just the accents, not the ghost notes. You have a snare on beat 2. Then you have a snare on beat 4 and 4 and then you have a snare on beat 2 of the 2/4 bar. Let me quickly sing that out for you. It's super simple, but I'll count out the quarter note pulse and we'll go through it together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now the key here with those backbeats is to play them hard. These are rim shots. He had that great snare drum sound. I think he was playing an LM402, an old Ludwig aluminum drum. It had a little bit of buzz in the snare drum. The snare was open and ringing, and the rim shots are key here. Now, I did write in some ghost notes in the transcription here. Now, these, I don't know if this is really what's happening because, you know, we're listening to a mixed song. He's obviously recording in a drum room. There's ambience in the sound. They added compression and all kinds of stuff to the sound. So it sounds like there's stuff happening in between. So what I'm thinking is happening is just his hands moving naturally. I don't think the ghost notes were necessarily thought out or written in this groove. He's just kind of going back and forth between his hands, really. So I have a couple of ghost notes in the first bar. I have one on the last 16th note of beat 2 and the second 16th note of beat 3. They're just on either side of that kick drum that's happening right on the downbeat of beat 3. For the rest of the ghost notes that I wrote in this transcription here, in the 2-4 bar, the second beat of the 2-4 bar, the very last 16th note, the there's one there. Then for the 3-8 bar, since you're playing 3/8 notes with your right hand, the ghost notes are the in-betweens. You're just going back and forth between your hands. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and just like that. It's really simple. And again, I just think it's the hands moving back and forth naturally. I don't think it was really thought out. Sometimes they were there, sometimes they're not there. Sometimes you can hear them more than others. So when you're practicing this groove or any groove where the in-between notes aren't totally written out or they could be random, just practice the level of those ghost notes. Make it a practice session where you're working on the height of the stick maybe, how soft you're actually playing those in-between notes. Maybe play them a little bit louder, play them a little bit softer. Work on those in-between things, the minutia. Get in deep into it and see if you can really work on your left hand to where you can manipulate the volume of the ghost notes however you see fit. Then you'll have real control over that kind of thing. Okay, I'm talking too much here again, but I think it's important. And you can also practice this groove without any of these ghost notes. I would say do that as well and just concentrate on those backbeat accents, really loud, really consistent, and deep in the pocket. Now on to the kick drum pattern, and I find this to be the coolest part of this phrase and really so John Bonham, if that makes sense. The pattern stays the same every time. He doesn't change it up at all. You have a kick drum on beat 1 and 1 and. Then you have a kick drum on beat 3 and 3 and the last 16th note of beat 3. Then we move to the 2-4 bar. You have a kick drum on beat 1 and 1 and of the 2-4 bar. And then in our 3/8 bar, it's just a kick drum on the very first beat. Let's sing that out together quickly, and then I'll tell you why I think it's so quintessential John Bonham. Here we go. Here's our pulse. Let's do this together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, 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 boom. 1 and 3 up. 1 and 1, 2, 1 and 3 up. 1 and 1. Make sense? I hope so. Let's sing out this pattern one more time, except this time we'll add in the snare drum, and it really brings it all around and brings it together. Makes it easier to hear. Here we go. Here's the pulse. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, boom, ka. Boom, boom, ka, ka. Boom, boom, ka. Boom, 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 ka. Boom, boom, ka, ka. Boom, boom, ka. Boom. 1 and 2, 3 and a 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 2, 3. 1 and 2, 3 and a 4 and 1 and 2, 3, 2, 2. Boom. Like that. Why I find this groove to be quintessential John Bonham and so creative is what's happening on that 3/8 bar, the last bar of the phrase. It's all based around that guitar riff. That little part is the 3/8 bar. Well, there's accents in that guitar part, right? Boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, go, 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 go. Well, John doesn't play the accents. To me, that would be the typical thing to do. You hear that guitar playing those accents. They're strong, right? And all John does is play the downbeat with the kick drum, and then it's just the hands going back and forth between the hi-hat and those ghost notes in between. If the rest of that little bar is open. To me, that's so cool. He's leaving space. So much of the time as drummers, I think it's a natural thing to do. We all do it. We want to fill in the space. We always want to put things in an open space, right? he left the space open. The hi-hat's still going, right? And maybe ghost notes in between the hi-hat. But the kick drum is not playing those accents with the guitar, and that is really cool. So when you sit down to play this groove, or play to the whole song, it's always fun to do that. Realize that that last bar of this phrase, there is that space there in the kick drum. You're not playing the accents, and see how that makes you feel. Because what I think it does is it pulls the groove back a little bit and keeps it on the backside and just fat. The pocket is really deep. And it's really because of those little things, the nuances that were in John Bonham's playing that he did naturally, right? It's what we want to study and we want to learn how to do because he was an expert at it. And that's really all there is here for groove number 35, The Ocean from Led Zeppelin's Houses of the Holy. Quintessential John Bonham drumming. Fat, deep pocket, a simple groove that fits the song perfectly. It's always fun to study John Bonham's drumming. There was something there, right? There's a lot for us as drummers to learn. He's been gone for a long time, but he left us with so much. And little simple grooves like this are just fantastic. So I hope you dug this groove this week. If you like what's going on here at Groovy Thursdays, I ask that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this video with all your friends, bring on comments and suggestions for future grooves. Next week is going to be groove number 36. What's it going to be? I don't know. Make it a surprise for you. We'll see you all here next week. Come back and join me. Take care, everybody.